I must say, the sound of a lion roaring gets me every time because it is my absolute favorite sound in the entire bush. Now, welcome everyone to another Africam show, always wild. Apparently this is the way we like to keep it, even when we look at some very wild bums that walk away from us. Hosting you today is Ali. I'm sure I have seen some of you before in some of the other shows that we've done, but if not, and this is your first time joining us, it is lovely to meet you. This is a live and interactive show, so please remember you can send the comments and the questions of everything that we're going to be viewing today and all these wonderful trap cameras that are dotted, I would say, pretty much all around the African continent. I mean, we've got one up in the East Africa, a bunch all scattered around South Africa, so maybe one day we will extend into West Africa. That would be, here I am making dreams come true. I do know that there are some of you that have started saying hello to all of us, so I just want to get through everyone before I start commenting on the baboons that are a very, very big trip. I've been looking at bums walking away from us for the last 5 minutes or so. All right, let's see who's been saying hello. So there's getting in. Hello at all. Sun at last. That's amazing. Suki V from the UK. Very happy to hear that you have got some sunshine all the way up there. We've also got some sunshine here at Olifants, where we're looking at the baboons, and here in Hoedspruit in South Africa, where I stay, which is not too far from Olifants, actually. So it's been a very hot day, but we are definitely starting to feel the change of the season. The mornings are starting to be really cold, but the day is still very hot. Amber Co, you say, yay, happy Tuesday to all, and thank you, Ali, for your gift of time to do this show. Well, thank you guys, and thank you, Africam, for having me here. It's actually, if I must confess, I love camera traps and all these things that we see in the darkness. My master thesis was actually done by studying, it's a bunch of statistical models. We won't get too much into it, but it was with camera traps and leopards. So I have a very soft spot for remote cameras and the insights that they give us into the life of animals. And it's really interesting because every time we do one of these shows, there is something that we learn from. Tia NC, you say good morning from Seattle. You're ready for the show with your coffee in hand. Oh, hello. Seems like we've got now somebody else that is ready, maybe coffee in hand, bird-wise. We are looking at a green-backed heron at the Naledi camp. Very, very still. Almost like its time stood still, but sometimes either they're just pretty much happy chilling like that, or they just wait, because herons are known for just staying and patiently waiting for hours on end, and then in one sudden movement they go almost like ninja style, like wacha, and they pretty much strike whatever it is that they're after. So Curse, that's been monitoring the camera, is actually just added in saying that it's already caught 2 frogs. So this is breakfast. Well, is it breakfast? Can we call it breakfast? I think we're just going to call this midday snack for this heron. I think there's also a terrapin at the back, but the terrapin is lucky because it's got a hard shell, so it's not going to get eaten by the heron. Ozzy Jan, you're also saying good afternoon with your coffee brewed in hand. Trainer Max 51, good morning from Salisbury, North Carolina, USA. Well, hello to you. Oh, I like it when we have an international audience. That's very nice. Look at that terrapin just photobombing. Get your face out of the mud. That is interesting. Oh, okay. Give it a bit of a fry. Rolling Trouble, you say hi from Washington. Glenda, you're saying hello from Indiana. And Griot MBF, you're saying merci depuis la France. Well, you are very welcome. Glad that you could join us all the way from France. Now, all the way here in South Africa, we've got this very hungry heron that I think got a little bit irritated by the terrapin. So the terrapin was that turtle creature that you saw there, but we call them terrapins in this part of the world. So freshwater turtles, you'll hear us refer to them as terrapins. There are, of course, also tortoises, which are kind of like the turtle that lives on land, and then what we call turtles are actually the ones that live in the ocean. So I think this heron maybe just decided that that wasn't the greatest spot to carry on doing stuff, so it's just moved into a very different spot. But look at it, how it's walking very carefully, stalking. There's definitely something that it's trying to get close to. As Chris said, maybe there's another frog. It's already caught 2, so maybe there's a 3rd one there. Could also be looking for little fish, little insects, and little things like that. It just amazes me how those animals can move so patiently or so slowly. And we all talk about the famous cat crawl and the catwalk, but I mean, look at that. You definitely know that is up to something and potentially not something good. Because, no, I think maybe sometimes when we look at birds, we also seem to forget that they can also be predatory species. I mean, this one is looking for something. Maybe there's something there where the grass is moving. I'm not too sure. And Karu, you're saying, hi, Ali. Well, hello and welcome. PM Deval, you say, good morning from wet Florida. I wonder if wet Florida is going to be looking a little bit like, you know, what wet lady, not Olifants, is looking at. Heron has caught frog after frog today, Suki V is telling us. Well, that's interesting. There must be another one in there. Like, it's amazing that we cannot see it, but obviously it being on the ground and just having much keener senses than us, it can definitely see something and know something. And you see it was sort of walking very quickly earlier and now taking its time, one step after the other. And it's quite funny because it's almost always like these animals they're dragged by their noses or their beaks into where they want to go. There's no rush. Rather do it properly and make sure that when it strikes, it's actually found a meal. Let me just, while we look at it, I just want to continue saying hello to everyone that's joined us today. Maybe we'll have a live kill on the show today. Ooh, almost seemed like the heron looked this way. Bob from Kalamazoo, you're saying, good day, Ali. Snow in Michigan. Ooh, seems like we've got all the seasons where everyone's watching today. We've got a sunny UK, sunny Hoedspruit, and a snowy Michigan. That's quite interesting. I am sorry if I don't pronounce this properly, but Yigal Bosian, you say hi from Israel. Hello to you. Carolyn Morgan, hello from Texas. And Kim Hee, would this heron eat the terrapin? So we are going on to the questions. It can eat little ones. Definitely bigger storks and bigger herons eat the little terrapins when they're smaller, but the one that came out earlier was a tad too big. And I think that's also why this one decided to go away. I mean, sometimes it's almost like the scales are reversed because the terrapins can also eat meat, and every now and again you'll see them maybe attempt something with little chicks and eggs and things like that. I think in this instance was just that the terrapin was moving and it was a bit too close for comfort for the heron, and animals enjoy having their personal space. They don't really like it when other creatures invade it. There's always the potential that the other individual that's approaching might be a foe rather than a friend, so it's always best to keep a safe distance from everything else because you don't really want to get eaten, do you? So everybody just tends to perhaps give each other a little bit more space than what we do as humans, especially in some parts of the world where us humans know no personal boundaries. I speak mainly for myself because I'm part Italian, but I am originally from Venezuela, South America. So we don't really have any boundaries when it comes to personal space, do we? Or, we're much more comfortable sharing our personal space than some other nationalities across the world. I must say, I didn't think this is where the heron was going to come all the way to, but maybe there's just something bigger in there. Maybe the little frog that it was following, it was just moved into further in there. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what this little one is doing. Tim, you are wondering where they nest. I'm actually not 100% sure where this species of heron nests. Most of the herons, you'll find that they have this big social heronry. So all of them, they nest on very messy nests on top of trees, generally, or not trees, or like generally bushes that overhang the water. So imagine like a mangrove type of thing. And then that's just because it's much easier for them to land in and out. And then, of course, for certain predators, like perhaps snakes and things, it's a little bit harder for them to actually get to the nests and the chicks. So gotta use our surroundings for advantage, really. I mean, if they all laid eggs on the ground, it would be a little bit more complicated. But for green-backed heron, I'm actually not 100% sure. That is an interesting question. I will have to find out and let you know. Jake, welcome to the party. You're saying hi guys to everyone. Well, hello to you too. Does this heron have a name? Because I feel like if it's been catching frogs the whole day, it must be one of the ones that tends to hang around this area. It just amazes me how still they can stand. think maybe I need to be a heron in my next life to actually learn about patience. I'm just sitting still in the one spot forever, because my next meal will depend on it. Okay, so there is no name, Kirsten says, but we can name him though. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like it looks maybe like a berry or something like that. Berry? Yes? No? Berry or Helen? Helen the heron? Yeah, I think Helen the heron's much nicer. But okay, Kristen likes Barry. Well, maybe we should just find 2 herons. And then we can have Barry and Helen, or depending on... there we go. Got something! What did you get? I'm trying to figure out what it is that it's got there. So I don't know if it's a little fish, or I don't know if it's actually a frog. Maybe the pixelation... Maybe the pixelation didn't let us actually find out, but if anyone's wondering how do we tell the difference between Barry or Helen, it's actually really hard. For a lot of the birds and smaller bird species, it's virtually impossible to tell the difference by just looking at them. A lot of the times it would require some genetic testing, even in the stages of a colonoscopy, or of course just seeing who actually incubates the chicks for the most part. So at this stage, it can be Helen or it can be Barry. We don't really know. Alright, well, suppose this is Olifant's River, which is looking full, but not that full. And now we're more interested in the heron. Hello, heron. Please can you turn around? Let us see what you're eating. Don't be shy. We're not going to judge, even if it's too big for you. It is quite amazing sometimes looking at the birds and the things that they catch, because if it's a big fish, often you'll see that they'll try to beat it against something, against a stick or the ground, just trying to get the fins and everything off so that it's easier for them to actually swallow their prey. Same sometimes with the frogs and especially with insects, but sometimes it just looks too greedy, like it's not going to fit in, and then, oh, you've eaten it. Whatever it was that you were eating, it seems like it's gone. You're a very tall heron. And in real life, they're actually not that big. I mean, I would say they're about, maybe 15 centimeters tall. So they're on the smaller side. They're smaller than a duck, let's put it that way. But fierce little things, as we saw now. I wonder why you've got your neck held high like that. Are you trying to swallow? Is this what we missed? Could be, could be. Oh, no, come back. You can be whatever you want. We're not really, it's almost like it's stretching out its neck. I think because it's seen something else and then it's potentially trying to catch something else. So we did get the kill. Did that dragonfly just land on the heron? This is absolutely ridiculous. I have never seen this before in my entire life. I've never seen a dragonfly land on a heron. Well, I don't know if that's optical illusion, but this is something great. This is not something that I've seen before, which is very funny. But, I mean, I think we've had a good entertainment from the heron. So let's go and have a look at the black eagle, because it's been a fun time for all of us with the black eagle, because it's recently, Mahlori and Makata, I think it's the name of the female, they've recently laid their egg. So I think it was on the 19th or on the 20th of the month that the researchers had definite confirmation that there was, egg laying, because the female stayed on the nest for the entire night and then she returned the next day. So we're very excited about it, because last year we managed to follow, was it last year, 2 years? Last year, to follow the story of the black eagles actually raising their young one, and then it fledged, and then it was very exciting times just to see it happen again. So I'm pretty sure this year, unless something unexpected happens, this could be really cool. And then as the time goes by, then of course we'll be able to see how they do. Oh, look at the mom. Good girl. That is very nice. Are you going to sit on your egg? It is a little bit harder to see in there, but I'm sure once the chick grows, then it's going to be much easier for all of us. At this stage, they're still incubating, but if I remember correctly from the last show that I did, I think it's expected that the chick is going to hatch sometime around the first week of June. And it's going to be, I think, fairly obvious to see because it's going to be white. So it's not going to be dark like the parents just yet. It's only going to morph into its colors a little bit later on. Rolling trouble, yeah, I agree with you. We had our live kill. The heron ate something. I'm tempted to say a frog, but it was hard to see because, you know, after it made the kill, then it went shy and it turned the wrong way around, which wasn't the friendliest, but we'll forgive them. I mean, I'm sorry that I laughed, but I just find that even the meaner, bigger birds that are these fierce creatures that dominate the skies and generally, like, you know, throw their prey species, make them jump off cliffs and so on, they all look like domestic chickens when they when they incubate their eggs. It's very funny. And in Dublin, Ireland, you're saying greetings. You live near a canal in Dublin, and sometimes there's a heron on it. Do they migrate to South Africa? I'm sure there are species of storks that migrate all the way here, but I am not like, such as like the white storks and so on, but I don't think that there are species of heron that migrate all the way down here, because they wouldn't really have a reason to if they can find food throughout the year. So I'm actually not sure if there is one. Actually, never thought about it. But the one that we saw, anyway, that stays around here year round. So we don't really have them. We don't really lose them, let's put it that way, because a lot of the animals migrate generally when the weather gets in the way, especially if they're insect eaters. So in the wintertime, there's going to be less insects. So a lot of them tend to migrate to where it's warmer because there will be a lot of insects. I think Kirst is also aiming at saying that there are bushbuck at the Elephants River. So it'll be nice to go have a look at them now that Mrs. Eagle has decided to be shy and then hide away. And to be honest, seeing bushbuck is actually really amazing because I don't know if you guys know the story, but there's another species of antelope in this area called the nyala, very similar to the bushbuck, just a little bit darker, just a little bit bigger, but instead of having the beautiful spots that you see on the side of the body, they still also have that very fluffy tail. They have rather stripes on the sides or on the flanks of their body. But because somebody deemed that nyala were so beautiful and we reintroduced them like crazy in this part of the greater Kruger, and they weren't really originally here, they have displaced bushbuck in a lot of areas. So in areas where we used to see a lot of bushbuck, the nyala, just because they're able to feed a little bit higher and at the same height as the bushbuck, they've actually displaced them, and they're putting a lot of pressure on them, so bushbuck are not perhaps doing as well as they were a couple of years ago, so we don't always see them. Funny enough, I was at a place now in the Okavango Delta, and there's another subspecies of bushbuck there. It's probably the most beautiful one. It's in northern Botswana. It's the Chobe bushbuck. And it's pretty much, if you see all of those spots there, it has all of those spots, but it also has some of those stripes. So it looks like a strange mix between a nyala and a bushbuck. Hello, you and your pretty ears. Talking about some big ears, it seems like we've got another big creature that has joined us at Tau. So maybe first, let's head over and have a look at what the elephants in Madikwe are doing. Ah, hello. Elephants and wildebeest. Well, what's that? That's a white stork. White stork, very likely a gray heron, that also lives here. I got excited. I wanted to say stork. And then we've got, of course, the elephant. Looks like a big bull. You can see the top of his head is very round, so that's generally very common, or that is the commonality of male elephants. And then, of course, we've got, seems like one impala that's walking away and a herd of wildebeest in there as well. And I want to say, like, it sounds like there's a hippo defecating somewhere. Because generally when they do that, they just spray their dung everywhere. So I know this sounds very crazy, and I sound like a crazy person, but that's kind of what it sounded like to me. Maybe there is one somewhere. I don't know. Don't know if there are hippos in this pond, but maybe there's something that makes a similar noise. No hippo at Tau, so you're crazy. Correct. Okay. Noted. Thank you, Chris. I definitely heard a hippo pooping. Don't know where that came from. Sorry, guys. I am hearing things now. Maybe it was a bird, fluttering. Alright, but going on to non-crazy things and non-crazy animals, unlike me. We've got the pretty bum of the elephant walking away, and then the wildebeest just looking at it and not being too phased about it. So I might be slightly mistaken, but it doesn't seem like it's a particularly hot day in town. It seems like almost there's a cloud cover. As I've seen it before where, you know, the sky is very bright and blue and it just looks slightly different. So I think had it been incredibly hot, we would have also seen the elephant not only drink, but also spraying some water on top of itself. To try and keep cool. It's a great way of managing the heat, and especially in places in northern South Africa, close to Botswana, Kalahari, where it just gets a tad hot, and it's really uncomfortable, and it's not ideal for a lot of creatures. What is that in the water there? That looks like an Egyptian goose. I am surprised that I really heard a hippo. God, maybe I should go get professional help. There's a spoonbill. If you look at the white feature in there also, just looking for food, not for fools. And then of course, the blacksmith lapwing and lots of Egyptian geese. I mean, elephant, we wanted to spend some time with you. Do you have to leave? It's actually walking at quite a distinct pace. It's almost like it's really bored and it wants to do other things. Looks nice. I think maybe first, if we can, if the Bushbuck is still there, let's head over to the Bushbuck rather than our friend and a lady. I mean, I'm not sure how often you guys see them all together on their dam cam. Yep. Now the Bushbuck's done. Actually, cannot even see it. This is a mystery. Bushbuck's left. Well, there's a hippo. You know, maybe, how about I was hearing the hippo because the audio of Olifants was connected to the one in Tao. That would make a lot more sense. Can I please get that one? Jake, you say you love watching the trail cam at Olifants. I just love watching the cameras in general. I mean, there are some, fair enough, it's like everything in life. Certain things are perhaps not interested on a daily basis every second, but there are, when some things happen, then it's just fascinating, I find it. And, you know, I really enjoy hippos, and I like watching hippos too. Even if they don't do a lot, you know, they just go up, they go down, and it's just like this way of living that's very relaxed, very chill. While they're in the water, they're almost always in that sleepy state. I'm getting a report from, you know, the spies of the Bushbuck camera that they actually retreated and went into the bushes. Cat Mom, you're saying hi to me, so hello back to you. Sorry you only got here after the Bushbucks were being a little bit unfriendly. But they are generally known for that. You don't really see them in open areas. Neither Bushbuck or Nyala, to a certain extent, neither Kudu, and all those three are in the same family. So they prefer areas that are a little bit more foresty. So it's not uncommon to see them there. So you can see how that trail there would actually be a perfect trail. And it's a trail that's going to be used by a lot of things, not only by the Bushbuck, they get used by elephants. We had baboons that were walking in there earlier. I mean, look at all those tracks. Thank you, Zumi, for focusing on the tracks. So all sorts of things prefer to use the same paths to and from water. It's just easier. It's a well-demarcated highway. Nothing really gets in your way. You can see further away. And if you think about it, if you're walking somewhere, you'd rather walk on the street or, you know, wherever it's easier. So the path of least resistance, that is always the way. That is what animals generally prefer. And then, of course, you know, if they bump into something that might want to eat them, then they'll just run away and then go anywhere else. But those are other circumstances. Is that the Bushbuck there? No. They've all hidden away. Yeah, I'm not convinced that we should name it Barry the Heron first. What about Helen the Heron? But let's go back to our friend Melody, see if maybe we can get greedy and get a 2 for 2. Maybe it'll make another kill. I see the dragonfly is also gone. Don't know if it's the dragonfly or a piece of grass on the left-hand side by one of those grasses. But that was very funny. If it was actually, if it was there. And hey, it could have also happened that Barry the Heron decided to eat it. Do you think it's offended because we're calling it Barry and it's just not turning around?
However, you're saying that the pink dragonfly was beautiful. I agree. It was very pretty. I don't actually know what species exactly it is. That's not my forte, because there are so many different species of dragonflies. There are actually entire field guides dedicated to dragon and damselflies, which are very beautiful. But again, a lot of them are generally eaten by herons, smaller birds. They're also eaten by frogs and so on. And you can always find them around the water, which, this is why the heron is there, just waiting patiently. But I'm not sure what it's doing now. So earlier we could see that it was really stalking something. It was walking, it was getting close by, and then it just slowly putting its feet down. And I think now it's maybe just standing very still. I think it's caused a lot of chaos all around, and it's potentially waiting for something to get close to it or to see something that it can actually move on to hunt. Because it's keeping its head fairly raised, fairly up, and generally when they go and hunt, they sit with their head a little bit closer to the ground. Because then, of course, if they've got a strike, they won't lose precious milliseconds from having their head higher than what it is to having it there, of course, unless opportunity presents itself, and then why not? Gotta take it as it comes, don't you? But, being a little bit, hard to get, saying, oh, hello, thank you. I mean, you are beautiful, so you should be a good ambassador for your species, and then just show off all your pretty colors. I think shame. It flew away. It's actually one of the more common species of heron that we get around the waterways in all of this region in southern Africa. And we don't actually, generally when you're a safari, you don't spend a lot of time with them, but they're actually fascinating to watch and to be with them. But now there is no heron, so we are back to an elephant bum. Because elephant bums are so pretty. No, it just seems like the elephants, I would imagine it's the same one that we were looking at earlier, another male. Generally, if you see an elephant by itself, then chances are more likely than not that this is actually a male and not a female. Because the females will be in herds with all the little ones, they'll have their offspring, sisters, mothers, aunts, everyone else, and there's generally a lot of chaos associating with them. Grumpy old man, you say that you think the new name is the striated heron. I think you are correct. The striated heron. I don't know if that is the new name or the old name. There's been a lot of name changes and also a lot of plant name changes, which has been pretty crazy. So I have it in my app as the green-backed heron. So I am not sure if this is the new or the old name. I suppose we will have to find out. It is very complicated when you learn names of animals and then they start changing. I do think maybe striated heron is the new name, and it used to be the green-backed heron. Of course, although we have a bit of a hard time keeping up with the new name, as we do more and more studies on animals and as different genetic studies come up and we manage to classify them further into taxonomic groups, then we start renaming things and reclassifying them. This has also got a very important conservation value, which is that if we manage to identify animals that are more closely related to others, sometimes what this also means is that they will have there will be less of them, so they'll have a higher conservation status. And you're saying you were wondering about the tuskless elephant seen in the Lady Dam that seems to be on its own. Would the herd have rejected it because it has no tusks? Not necessarily. It's very likely just a male. It is not uncommon, as I said, to see males with or without tusks on their own. And sometimes the having no tusks, though, gets in the way of them fighting other males with tusks for the rights to mating. But there is no sort of rejection when it comes to not having tusks. Having or not having tusks is just part of the genetic code that any animal has or any elephant has. It just means that, the recessive gene of the having no tusks has been spread a little bit more than, or it's just been a perfect combination and then this particular individual doesn't have tusks. But it doesn't seem to affect them too much in terms of their life expectancy and their survival skills. And I mean, if you look at this one, it's a nice individual, but it still doesn't have the biggest tusks. And that is all about genetics. Right. On that very last note, it seems like we have run out of time. But again, thank you everyone for joining. It's always wonderful to be here. And then hopefully we'll catch you guys again next week at the same time. And we'll see maybe what Barry the Heron is up to. Bye for now.